this morning.
Big show lined up. James Sullivan's not far away. Steve Shinners, of course, is going to be talking about the big win in the sprint last night. Chris Nelson, Racetrack Ralphy, they'll round out that first hour. Then Brad Hardie, Gary Portelli, Kamochi. What a win from the mare resuming there yesterday. Helen Harding, she's got Uncompromised running in the Goldfields Tattersalls Club Cup. And hopefully catch up with Morts as well. Then Jimmy Taylor's going to be a special guest on Racing Rewind. What about the win there of Searchin' Rocks in the race named after his great galloper, the Idyllic Prince?
Absolutely, and very proud history in the race. And, of course, yesterday there were quite a few horses that the punters landed on. Searchin' Rocks was certainly one of those, Marty. From the moment that the markets opened up, punters were very keen to team up with Searchin' Rocks, and it was an outstanding performance to win. I thought Valor Road very good once again. Gee, it's been such a consistent and reliable horse at the top level here in WA for a very significant period of time, but all honours with Searchin' Rocks and Stevie Parnham yesterday.
Yes, our man Riley Morgan off air to me on Thursday before Straight Up. He said this is the bet of the winter. He made his best bet of the day, Searchin' Rocks, but he did say he was a bit more exuberant off air. Bet of the winter, and got the job done. It was another, gee, that's sensational. How good's it going in the Lucky? And, of course,
Russian Sniper's another horse that's just been in a rich vein of form as well. Bravo Centurion, I thought, was very impressive earlier on in the card.
Of the meeting, isn't he? Yeah, Bravo Centurion,
definitely
win.
It was a really, for this time of year, Marty, I thought it was an excellent program. We really, I guess, have had a fairly quiet period through the winter months, but gee, it was good to see some nice horses on show there yesterday at Belmont. It was a great 9-race card.
Okay, we're about to catch up, I think, with our man James Sullivan. I don't know what's going on there. But
looks ready to roll, I think, there, Marty.
Oh, here he is here. Okay. G'day, James. How are you?
Hello, Marty. Hello, David.
Hello,
Hello, gentlemen.
Oh, we're very happy after the Storm have just gone bang last night. What a performance over the Dolphins.
Yeah, that was amazing. And obviously they started so well. That was the big thing, wasn't it? And because there'd been nothing between those. In their two outings, it was 8 points and 6 points. So that sort of blew me away. But I tell you what, you talk about, inspiring teammates, and you're thinking, mate, didn't they get around Big Nelson and so for Solomon when he scored? Yep. Obviously, it was his 200th last night. It was a celebration. Oh, imagine jumping all over him. He's a monster.
Takes a few of them to get around him, Sul, it must be said. He takes a bit of covering, but Marty's on the money. This was a complete smacking. The Storm tuning up for the finals beautifully. And from the get-go, the 19-minute mark was where it all started, and then it was just try after try right the way through. 48 points they slammed on, and unfortunately for the Dolphins, they were only able to get over once with Jake Avarillo in the 66th minute. But the Storm, they'd be really delighted. Their last home game of the season, I did hear a chat with Frank, their general manager. He speaks really well, actually. He's a great promoter of the game there for Melbourne. He gets, I think they were expecting in excess of 20,000 there last night. And I tell you what, when you've got your home team up and running, you can really, even in an AFL town, you can really generate some great interest. And I think most people that love AFL absolutely have got a soft spot in Melbourne for the hometown Storm. And I think it's been great for the game. And Sul, we're really hopeful over here that when we get the Bears in over here, that it'll be a similar story. And I think you'll find it will be. I think as long as their AFL teams aren't overlapping, I think you'll find plenty of people that love the footy will get along and support a local side in the NRL.
No, absolutely they will. And as you say, that they hold their own in Melbourne now. At the end of the day, it helps. At the end of the day, it helps being successful. Yeah. And that's one thing, this Melbourne Storm franchise, that's why it's so important for the Bears to do it right from the start. And, obviously that's moving forward. But I tell you what, last night I had a look at this Melbourne Storm side, and we had young Suafar Longo. I've called him a couple of times for the North Sydney Bears. There you go. In the last month, he grabs 2 tries. Tyron Wishart plays on the wing. Now, the big word in rugby league is a spine. That's what we say. We say, how good's your spine? That's your fullback, your 5'8", your halfback, and your hooker. So straight up the guts. That's the way they do up your back. I don't think the Melbourne Storm's got a better reserve spine. Suafar Longo, Tyron Wishart, Jonah Pezzett, and Bronson Garlick. And you mentioned the depth. That's the big key rolling in the finals, isn't it? They're getting everybody. getting everybody that little bit of NRL before the finals. And we know, I don't know if he'll rest. I think Craig Bellamy's had a look at the back end of they play the Broncos last round. And normally you get mass. Bellamy basically, as a rule, will send on a different 13. I don't think he will. I've got a funny feeling that these boys are being rested now. He's not giving the Broncos a back door into that top 8. So watch this space on that.
Right. Earlier on, Raiders upsetting the Panthers. Let's talk about this, 22-18.
Oh, my word, it was an upset. Yeah, I was calling local footy at the same time as this one. I watched it again last night, and obviously, especially when the Panthers got back into it, and then Xavier Savage scores that late try in the 70th minute. But yeah, he's copped a bit of flack. I tell you what, don't worry about that. It's been a tough week for Ricky Stewart after the way they played, excuse me, in Townsville the week before. We had a chat to him. I was with the big man on Friday, and we had a chat to him out of GOO Friday morning, and he said, I don't know what happened. And for them, Elliot Whitehead's last home game, of course, the Englishman, been the captain of the club for the last few years. He's going back to England, so it was a big occasion. Panthers, no Cleary, we know that, but that's still Liam Martin came back into that side. So, yeah, a little bit of a speed bump with at the back end of the season for the Panthers. But, yeah, that'll take the pressure off Ricky Stewart.
Oh, big time. And I guess the other really encouraging part of it was they had to come from behind. They were able to get over in the 59th and 70th minute to get the job done. It takes a bit of character to come from behind against one of the absolute powerhouses of the competition when you're coming off a bit of a licking the week before. That says something of the character of the team. Yeah,
especially, and their record against them. So that was the big thing. It was a shining light of the day for the Raiders, so they'll be happy with that. As I said, Elliot Whitehead deserved that send-off. He's been a stalwart of the club, so, yeah, they'll be happy with the 2 points.
Okay, the Knights were too good for the Rabbitohs, 36-16 in the final game last night.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Knights, as we know, they had their heart ripped out last week with that late field goal against the Sharks, which sort of knocked them on the head for 2024. And I'll tell you what, boys, the Rabbitohs, I think they're looking for Mad Monday because, what a shambles of a season it's been before Wayne Bennett comes.
Shambolic. You said it.
They best get it out of the system because when Wayne arrives, I'll give you the small tip, Sol. He won't be copying any of this drama. He'll be absolutely wheeling out the big cane and saying, righto, you've had your fun. It's time to buckle down and get the job done again. There'll be some hard work in store for those boys.
Well, it's an interesting one, Dave. And the thing is, I think we've got to look how many blokes have been out injured for the year for them. That's fine. But they've obviously had all the drama about Latrell Mitchell over the last month, or the last 3 weeks. So all that sort of builds up. And as you say, there's still a lot of uncertainty amongst the club. As you know, Toby's there at South. So there's a lot of uncertainty even in the New South Wales Cup and the Jersey Flag. So, it's interesting to see what Bennett will do when he comes in. Because when he comes in, Shorty, you're very correct, but he runs the joint. And nobody else. Mm-hmm. Like, he'll get rid of football managers and he'll do it all himself. So that's what's, as I say, it's going to be a bit of a shape-up for the Rabbitohs in the off-season.
Those other 2 games on Friday night, Warriors going down to the Bulldogs 18-34, and the Broncos got that win over the Eels. We spoke about this on Friday, 30-24.
Yeah, amazing. Down 16-0 too, weren't they? The Broncos, they did well to come back over the Eels, which keeps that slight hope that they make the 8. As I mentioned earlier, they played the Storm last round, so Craig Bellamy might have a little bit to do with that at the back end of it. Unfortunately for Sean Johnson, he didn't get that happy ending, boys. Oh, what a shame at home. When he came on, the tears were flowing. And I tell you what, though, what I got out of this game, and there was some controversy, Stephen Crichton, how he did not get sent to the bin for the contact on Roger Tuivasa-Sheck's head. Well, all of a sudden, he's been charged. He won't play again before finals, Steve Crichton, for the Bulldogs. But what we did see, we saw a Bulldog side. They might have changed my thinking a little bit. They impressed me Friday night, and they came from behind. So moving forward, they're going to have some bark, but they're not going to be. They're going to be without their captain until finals.
Now, Sol, for people that aren't following it as closely as what your good self, these are similar to the AFL. This is going to be an exciting couple of last rounds. We've got the Broncos on 26 points, Dolphins on 26 points, the Knights on 26 points, the Raiders on 26 points. They're in 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th position. In 8th position on 28 points are the Dragons. They've got one game up their sleeve. But if the Dragons have any slip-ups here, there's possibilities for any of those four sides if they can get on a late heater to sneak into the finals.
Yeah, on my word. And I really do think the Broncos will come hard at the back end of the season. But you're right, and the Dragons, well, they're one of those sides we'll have a look at this afternoon. But, yeah, well, the Cowboys had that luxury. They had the bye, so they're sweet. You know, they grabbed the 2 points for that. They'll finish. This is where Cronulla, a big game for Cronulla today because they got the Bulldogs really, really, you know, yapping at their heels to try and finish in that top four. So, yeah, it sets it up beautifully the next 2 weeks. And these two games today, you know, the Titans were disappointing last week, weren't they, in Kieran Foran's 300th in Wollongong, but they'll take on a Roosters side that really want to cement a top four.
Well, let's have a look.
And maybe.
Go ahead.
The Roosters they're a live chance after the Penrith loss yesterday.
Yeah, to take second.
Yes, exactly. So this is a very important game today.
Absolutely. Let's get into it. The first game, 12 o'clock, Gold Coast, $4.90. The Roosters, $1.18. It's a big line, 14.5, and game total sits at 54.5. What are we doing in this early game, Sol?
Yeah, the Chooks have won their last 10 against the Titans. It must be that scenario, boys. If you win, you can go out. We're going to the Gold Coast. So if you lose, you stay in your hotel room. They'll be too strong. Brandon Smith's out. It's quite funny. Brandon Smith's out in the hooker role. He comes in, he's replaced by another Smith, Sandon Smith. But, yeah, too many points for me. And I tell you what, boys, one of our early season tips, Marty, you will remember, we had Don Young for most tries early in the year. Well, he's just one behind. The young boy from the Gold Coast. So we're pumping home today. We want Dom Young to grab a couple more. So, yeah, no, I'm going to go to Roosters, boys.
All right, Roosters, and it sounds like Young might be one of the fellas we can throw into our anytime try scorer. The late game, 2:05, St George Illawarra, $2.20. The Sharkies, $1.67. Line betting's at 2.5. The money's been for the Dragons at the plus 2.5. That's into $1.86, and game total 47.5 points.
Yeah, two sides that can be a little bit inconsistent. You know, we saw what we saw last week from the Dragons, and the Sharks got away with that win last week against the Knights. But it's one of those games, I tell you what, I think it can go either way. In this local derby, the Sharks have won their last 8 against the Dragons. But, you know, probably the play I'm going to have is either side by 10 and under, linked up with the Roosters 13 plus. So that's probably where I'm looking at the moment on that one. But it's going to be as you just mentioned, it's a big game for the Sharks. They've got to cement that top 4. And it's a massive game for the Dragons to try and, you know, really push those other teams behind them away. So, yeah, massive game, this one this afternoon, the last one to finish the round.
All right, I'm sure you've got a try scorer multi for us, Sol. Who are we teaming up with today?
Yes.
Well, it's a couple of rounds to go, so we might as well do a few. I'm going to go, as I said, the Roosters 13 plus, either side by 10 and under, $3.14. That's not a bad little play. James Tedesco into Will Kennedy. I'm going the number ones. We'll get $4.60 for that, $4.58. And we might as well do a back rower one, Marty. You love a back rower one. Yeah. Let's go. Angus Crichton into Jaden Sewer, $7.05.
Sounds pretty good to me. That'll go out on socials. You'll look after that for us, Sol. All the best for today, and we'll hear you on Thursday. Talk again Friday.
Absolutely, boys. Stay safe. I'm looking forward to the footy this Harvey.
James Sully Sullivan talking NRL. We're about to head to Adelaide, catch up with Steve Shinners.
Racing, missing it there, Smooth Plane. Have a look at the speed from Where's Poppy and booting over Uncle Tommy and holding the rail. Cluster. Oh, it got awfully squeezy and Cluster held the lead. But have a look at Miss Envy. She got the best run you could ever think of. Miss Envy takes over now. Cluster's a length away. Deep out was Uncle Tommy, railing hard, Smooth Plane. Midfield might have been. They break clear from Sweet Sundown and Chapel Road. Miss Envy the leader. Smooth Plane's coming. Miss Envy and Smooth Plane. Miss Envy digs and wins. Oh, what a win. Miss Envy from Smooth.
Oh, what a win that was. And Steve Shinners joins us online. Very good morning, Steve, and congratulations.
Thanks, Marty. Thanks, Shorty.
Well done, Steve. That was a stunning performance. She's very lightly raced, this girl, only very young from an experience perspective, gave away experience to many runners in this field, but she made all the right decisions at the right times. She was smothered up going into that first corner, and then as soon as that opening appeared on the rail, she pierced through the pack, rolled onto the fence, took over heading into the back, and then I thought that was half of the equation covered. She then had to deal with a couple of the real strong closers late in that race that were coming. Smooth Plain, the Victorian, was strong to the line, might have been likewise, but she was able to really dig in late and hold on for a very, very impressive win, and great to see the title coming back home to WA.
Yeah, no, it was a massive thrill, and it's pretty well documented now that we had a horror couple of flights over, and then even a bad one coming back again. The crate tipped over on the plane on the Friday coming back, and look, she was probably lucky to be 85% right. As you probably know, we were still very 50-50 on Wednesday. Thursday she improved a little bit, and and then we only made a decision late Thursday night to fly across on the Friday, and look, that's just full credit to the bitch and her chasing ability to be able to do that. Such a young dog, and couldn't be more proud of her.
About to say, for such a young dog, which David just told us about, so inexperienced, to handle all of that and then turn up on the night, that is a magnificent effort.
Yeah, definitely. And look, her run home wasn't probably anywhere near what we'd probably expect from her. Like, once she got to the lead, she's usually very strong. And I know those dogs are really strong, but look, she was probably capable on that track last night of a pretty close to a 30-second run. But, look, just absolutely wrapped with the tenacity of her to hold them off. And your 12-start dogs just don't do that too often. But, the sky's the limit for the little girl, and she's just an absolute competitor, which you just love about her.
Absolutely. Only just turned 2, so she's got so much still ahead of her. And the upside is they've got the South Australian Oaks coming up not too far from now. She looks to have a real liking for the Angle Park circuit. She was clearly the fastest trialer in the build-up to the National Sprint Final, and I was really keen on her. And then, obviously, we found out there were a few little dramas with the flights and the like, and
you didn't weaken, did you?
I still had her on top, but I didn't actually have much of a bet on her, Marty, and I was pretty keen to have a decent bet, to be honest, on the off the trial. But I tell you something, one thing you know heading forward, she's clearly going to be a bitch that you can back with confidence when she does travel, because she's taken it all in her stride, and she'll only get better with more experience, you would imagine. But the fact that she's run that 30 and 24 in a trial, and then in a field of 8 last night against really experienced, high-quality dogs, she's made all the right decisions. It would give you plenty of confidence aiming up towards the SA Oaks.
Yeah, definitely, Shorty. And look, I mean, I haven't seen the head-on view, but watching from behind the boxes, she gets crunched early, and I reckon she probably loses 2 or 3 lengths going to that corner just on momentum. But she's just one of those dogs that manages to find a gap, and the call was, she got a freakish run, but I think she made her own run there. She's just one of those dogs that takes the right options, and you can't teach them that. You got to, and to be such an inexperienced dog, they don't come along like that every day. And she's a little ripper.
She had done everything right in her brief career over here prior to this series, but going into the WA Sprint Final, it was the littermate Transcendent, who is another very, very talented dog in his own right. He drew box 1 in the WA Sprint Final and was the warm favourite going in. He got closed out badly off the inside, and that allowed Miss Envy to really step up to the plate. She was very clever in that final as well. She, from a wide draw, got across, camped on Firelighter. Again, that railing ability down the back. As soon as Firelighter jumped off, under she went. Saves you so much ground and allows you to get momentum up on your opponent when you can rail up like that. But what's the latest on Transcendent and the rest of this litter? That's the other exciting thing. Of course, Miss America, Marty, the mother of these pups, her first litter was spectacular. It included, I guess, the pin-up dog of the kennel was Electrified, who was so good for so long. But there are a pile of dogs in that litter that were first class. And now Miss America again here, what we've been exposed to early doors from this litter, Steve, suggests that she's thrown another first-class litter that you're going to have an awful lot of fun with over the next 18 months to 2 years.
Yeah, look, we were blessed with the first litter, and then at the same stage, they're probably going better, this litter. And, Transcendent, as you said, he's a really good dog in his own right. But, look, he just puts his best foot forward, whereas this bitch has just probably got that little bit of extra class about her. I think she's, no matter what sort of competition she is against, she'll probably just lift to, whereas, look, he's a very fast dog, as you know himself. And then La Sagrada, I think she might be a really good stayer if she can stay. And then we've got Gimme Chills, who actually broke in the quickest of all of them, but just unfortunately he's had a few injuries. And the other two will win quite a few races as well. So, no, it's going to be a great litter, and hopefully we do a bit of travelling with them. And, and then we've got a nice litter of hooked on Scotches to look forward to. And she just had a final litter now to Bernardo. And, we've just sold a couple to England, actually. Which is quite interesting. So, good moving forward.
That's tremendous.
Wow.
And, how exciting from your perspective, knowing what she's produced in her first 2 litters, and you've got another 2 litters to come. And as a trainer, the hardest thing is to have high-quality young stock come through. And when you get a bitch that just throws for you, they're rare, but my goodness, when you get them, they are absolutely golden. And you must be pinching yourself that Miss America has gone on to be the brood bitch that she has. And I guess it really makes it a bit easier to get up in the mornings when you know you're working with some really talented youngsters.
No, definitely, Shorty. It's like the goose that laid the golden egg, as they say. And we've just had Fortified Mac, who's the only bitch in the first litter of the very good litter. She just whelped this week to Fernando Bale, so she's got a nice litter there as well. And we've got to the stage now that we don't train a lot, as you know. We've only got 12 race kennels and 5 pre-training kennels, so we will be selling a few of those, which we haven't sort of done in the past, and we've still got Amplified sitting there in the wing, so it's a very enviable position to be in. But creates a lot of work and a lot of tough decisions sometimes, but no, it's really good, and you're definitely good to wake up in the morning and look out and see the calibre of dogs you got there. It's really pleasing.
All sounds rosy for the Shinners kennel. All the best to Crystal. Well done, Steve. And looking forward to seeing Miss Envy again in that Oaks. She should be very hard to beat. Thanks for coming on the Aftermath.
No worries, guys. Thank you.
Well done, Steve.
Quick break. We're coming up with Chris Nelson next.
Blah, blah, blah. Let Marty Young and David Shortte do all the talking on the Aftermath. Sunday morning at its best on Tab Radio Racing and Sports.
Oh, Chris Nelson, plenty to talk about Group 1 action back there at Randwick yesterday. A very good morning.
Good morning, Marty. Good morning, Shorty. Yeah, it was an unbelievably good day's racing at Randwick, isn't it? Doesn't it just get you on a high when you see these good horses back? And one really good, or 2 really, really good ones, I think.
Actually got me back doing some video replays and looking at trial results and all that sort of thing again. Spring is in the air, that is for sure. What about race number 5, Waterhouse Bot? Tim Clark with his staying Alias.
Yeah, just thought I'd touch on this one on the way through to some of the better races. But, Alias is an import. Obviously better than our opposition or better than our local stayers, which is generally the case with these horses from the UK, etc. First up from a break, typical Waterhouse Bot, tough as old boots. The horse Touristic, who ran second, moved up to challenge over the final 200 metres or so. But there was no way in the world it was ever going to get past Alias, who was too strong. So you'd expect it to improve off that, probably heading towards races such as the Metrop and maybe some other spring cups down the path. Who knows? Carla Paul was quite good, I thought, first up. Sectionals home were okay for a horse that generally doesn't fire fresh that well. So Carla Paul came back well. Canberra Legend led. Just about had enough of him. He needs a sort of a wet track. He wasn't going to get that yesterday, but he's been a bit disappointing. Nothing else out of that race, really, guys. All Alias. If I was following the horse going forward, it'd be that one.
Correct.
All right, Alias, the one that popped down out of race number 5. We move on to race number 6. It was the Group 2 Darley Silver Shadow Stakes. And Amina, J-Max special here. Silmarillion was being lauded the winner, and then Amina with a late charge able to provide that really good finishing burst and get up. Manal was the street corner tip. Every man and their dog wanted to be throwing out Manal there yesterday. It was absolutely poleaxe from a betting perspective. But in the end, it had to be content with third. And to be fair, from about the furlong onwards, never really looked the winner.
No, but before that, Shorty, interestingly, she let down with a pretty good dash. Probably only went for about 75 metres, and I think we all thought, well, this is all over. But then she stopped as soon as she started, so maybe she needed the run there. Look, she wasn't beaten far. There was officially 0.17 of a length between first and third, less than a length between the first 5. But Amina, who had been wintering up here in Queensland, has obviously got plenty of ability. Won her first 2 starts, and then she ran second in the Group 3 and then she finished down the track in the Percy Sykes. But she got into trouble and she wasn't beaten that far. So no surprise to see her win. She's obviously very smart. She tracked Amina in the run. She tracked Manal in the run and was too strong for her late. Still Marillion, the one you mentioned there, Shorty, was good, up on speed, still a maiden, $21 shot. Wouldn't be a bad bet going back to a maiden next start, I wouldn't think.
Yeah.
Zaitung was wide and quite good. And a bit of a late eye catcher was Bohinia, who ran 6. Didn't get the clearest of paths early in the straight and then ran on quite well and did pull up 1/5 lane. So maybe one to follow there.
Part owned over here. There's a couple of ladies who own this horse, Bohinia, and I would imagine it could be, and I know nothing, but very immature horse. This has got plenty of ability, and I wouldn't be surprised if it spells now, particularly being 1/5 lame, and watch it when it comes back. It's got some ability. Race number 7, the Show County. One active fair here, Jolly Star for Waller and McDonald.
Yeah, I've had this thought in my mind for a long time, guys, that this mare is a potential superstar.
Yep.
And yesterday did nothing to change my mind. I thought she'd come back and win. But wow, to win like that really even surprised me. She was going to the line easily. J-Mac gave her the pat. I've just got some sectionals here. Last 600, 32.71. Last 400, 21.67. Last 200, 11.18. All under her own steam. No pressure, basically, whatsoever. She's beaten them by 3 lengths. 33.46 home was the actual official leader to winner. But wow, this is impressive. I hope she goes off to an Everest.
Yeah, why not? Why not? The main event of the day, we'll talk about this, the win of...
Just quickly, Marty, before we get off that race, I just wanted to briefly touch on the horse that ran third in this race. It was a $51 chance.
Yep.
It doesn't always go on with the job after its first run of a prep, but this is a really nice run, Fierce, and it was $51 yesterday. It has got a habit of turning up fresh and running really well at a big price. That's one to just keep up your sleeve for next preparation. Pop it in your black book and right next to it, first up. And when Fearson goes around first up, heading forward its next couple of preps, worth having something on at big odds because it always happens to run well fresh.
Wing Stakes, it was a 1-2-3 for Chris Waller, but it was Via Sistina. Gee, I think I half knocked this on Friday off the trial. I didn't really like its trial. I did.
Do that?
No, I did. Zagotcha and Fangirl was steaming late. Samana back in fourth for Mara and Gibbons. But tell us about Via Sistina's win and a big day for Yulong.
How did they beat her going forward? I mean, 1,400 metres was apparently too short for her. So now she's going to step it up in distance. And, wow, if she can win this first up, you think she's got a fair bit of improvement to come. So that suggests she's in for a big spring. Interesting, at about the 700-metre mark, Fangirl was probably about 7 or 8 lengths off the lead, and Via Sistina was to her inside. And Fangirl just lost a little bit of ground, probably about a length or so there. Via Sistina was able to shoot up on the inside, save some ground, and end up in front of Fangirl, and then save ground around the home turn and took the shortcuts home, whereas Fangirl had to come wide. Take nothing away from Fangirl. She was good, but she just lost that length, and she was only beaten a half a length on the line. So the result may well have been different if that didn't happen. But they're both superstar, mares, so you can't knock either of them. But Via Sistina going forward is probably the one you want to follow. Zagotcha was terrific. Hasn't Zagotcha turned the corner? Unbeaten last prep, and then narrowly beaten here. Could have just about won. I thought Dozy did enough. Riff Rocket was good late.
Very
Tropical
good.
Squall pulled up 1/5 lane,
Okay, I'm going to jump in here. Toy show quality, Gary Portelli, who's going to be a special guest in the next hour. Kamochi. What a win, 3 deep, no cover. And when you had a look at the win earlier on of Jolly Star and you do your form, you find out Jolly Star beats Kamochi last year in a race that made the form look good.
It certainly did. And just back to that Jolly Star race too, they had 3 races late in the day that were 1,200 metres. 110 race 6, 110 race 10 we'll get to, but 109.8 for Jolly Star. And just keep in mind, she did that all with plenty in the tank there. She's got another gear. Kamochi, you mentioned there, Marty, 3 wide. They didn't go hard in this race. And you might want to talk to Gary about, I read this morning in the paper, he's got some aims for this. This mare is the filly, is the Everest. The Golden Eagle, $30 million. So it'd be nice if you could pocket even one of those, you would have thought. But good win. Always good first up, Kamochi. Commemorative was good. It was the only horse in the race that ran on. So I think Commemorative is one to follow out of that race too.
Komochi and Commemorative, and in the last, it was World Alliance. Jason Collett getting the job done, defeating Poker Jack and Melody again. But Jason Collett continues to knock up, riding plenty of winners over there in Sydney.
He does, no doubt about that. I just want to touch on this race, guys, because I don't know what we do with Spring Lee. Spring Lee was very heavily backed, was very unlucky last start. The whole world, including everyone I know, was on Spring Lee yesterday. And look, Spring Lee was vetted before the start. Now, it wasn't something that Mark Zara requested. The horse just went to the barriers normally, but it was the vet that requested to inspect Spring Lee. Past Spring Lee fit to run, and then she didn't really do much in the straight. But Mark Zara said she seemed to stretch out fine. So I don't know. When she next runs, they'll all jump off, and of course she'll win. But she's a bit of a concern, Spring Lee.
Okay, World Alliance 2 by Rubik winning the last. It goes 5 from 10, so building up a good winner's CV. Yeah. Now, before we get horses to follow, are we going to find some winners from you today?
Well, we're at Kilcoy today, and it's probably not one of my favourite tracks. The home straight's about as big as my backyard, so you need to be in front on the home turn. And we'll go with these because they should be. Race 1, number 1, Reigning Alpha, and race 2, number 4, Kira's Sister. Maybe put them in a multi, get the collect, and then get out of there fast.
Horses to follow.
A couple of obvious ones here, but I couldn't help it. Race 7, Jolie Star. Race 8, Via Sistina. And we'll throw in race 9, Commemorative. So not hard to find those, but I don't think you'll go broke backing those in the spring.
All right, Chris, what a day it was. We'll listen in on Wednesday, then again on Saturday morning. Thanks for coming on The Aftermath.
That's a pleasure, guys. Enjoy your Sunday.
Here's a beauty. Chris Nelson. Text line is open for Retrovision. Here's a beauty from Rusty Gates. It's long, so stay with me, David.
I'm with you.
At the beginning of the AFL season, I stated that the teams that had their best 24 players available for the majority of the season would have a much better chance of playing in the finals. Unfortunately for Fremantle and Carlton, they've lost key players to injury at the wrong end of the season, and today their hopes of making the 8 hangs in the balance. If they had been able to have their best team available all season, I have no doubt they both would have been in the 8 and possibly top 4. Also, Shorty, as you are an avid Fremantle supporter, do you think that they should think seriously about a trade for Sean Darcy? Because the first thing he would pack before he goes to a game would be his dressing gown, because on too many occasions he is subbed out of the game due to sustaining an injury. That is from Rusty Gates.
Thank you, Rusty. Yeah, look, it's a good point you raise. He's become injury his last couple of seasons. He's struggled to get through a full season. He's got that body type where he just carries a bit of surplus, and I can feel for the man, Marty. But in reality, it's not ideal. You want to be light on your feet, and Luke Jackson, on the flip side, has got probably the perfect frame from an athletic perspective. Now, there's two aspects to it. One, injuries are becoming an issue, and continuity in football, like any sport, is so important. If you stop, start, you undo a lot of the hard work you do in the pre-season, because you've got to put a halt to proceedings while you're rehabbing. You're not doing the work that you normally would in between games to keep your fitness levels. And it's a bit of a rolling scenario, because as it is, he's carrying a bit extra. Then he has to stop and halt. Then you can't overcook him, because you need to keep him fresh to be ready to play again. And it sort of just keeps rolling around and around and around. And the only time you can reset is at the end of the season. The problem that Freo have, they're so heavily invested from a monetary perspective with both of their ruckmen, and most teams are getting away with having one ruck and one of their forwards as backup. Now, personally, I don't like the idea of rucking with Josh Tracy heading forward. I think he's now proven himself the most important asset that Fremantle have up front. They've struggled since Matt Pavlich has left to have a good quality key forward. They've now found one. Don't put him in the ruck and risk having him get injured in that scenario. So they've got some younger ruck.
Liam Reedy.
They've got some younger ruck options that are there in the background. I do like Darcy as a player, but from a big picture perspective, if Freo could get a decent draft pick for him, they could offload some money. They are talking about wanting to bring in Bolton and Warner in the next season or two. Moving him on would free up probably $750,000 to bring one of those players in and accommodate a fair bit of that salary. It would also allow them to get a higher draft pick to negotiate with in those dealings to try and get those players. So I think as much as it's nice having the two there, I don't know that you need two ruckmen in the way the game's played in 2024, to be honest.
You need a good backup ruckman, and Reedy, I think, is your man going forward. I originally was with him, but now just with these problems that keep resurfacing and his body type, as you said, his shape, I think it might be time to make that move. Geelong have always been into him.
Yes. They've always made inquiries, and I would... while the interest is still there, they still don't have a key ruckman that they've really gone chips in with. I would definitely be having a chat to them in the off-season.
And best for both parties as well.
And I think for Luke Jackson as well. Luke Jackson hasn't yet learned how to clunk his marks, and while he's playing in the ruck, that's less noticeable.
I don't think he's learned how to be that second stringer. He wants to be the one.
Yeah.
And a lot of ruckmen are like that. Paddy Ryder, and you can go back through the ball.
Oh, and I think
Maxie Gorn.
To be fair to him, he probably deserves that opportunity.
Yep. All right. Talking about Maxie Gorn, our man is online, Racetrack, Ralphy.com.au. How are you, Ralphy?
Yeah, talking of ruckman, here I am. That's it.
And Ralphy can chime in and give us a little bit of feedback on that, because of course he saw firsthand Brodie Grundy and Max Gawn, and heavy investment in two ruckmen. It didn't work out so well there either. Ralphy and Fremantle are faced with a similar scenario with their two big boys.
Yes, I often hear Gerard Whateley quote the NFL phrase: "If you've got two quarterbacks, you've got no quarterbacks." So I think that's often the challenge. They're going to. The one thing was, I mean, Jackson worked so well with Gawn in our premiership year, but you got to have the right type of players to be able to both be versatile. So it'd be interesting if they cave in. Just a little stat about the D's: last 14 games, we've been beaten 35 plus points 6 times. Previous 100 games, 3 times. I think we're falling off the cliff.
Yeah, it's over the precipice.
Hey, Ralphie, also just quickly before we get into the racing action, I know that earlier on in the week they had the very best of the footy show. I'm sure that would have brought some amazing memories flooding back to you. There was a lot of chat with the pipe, Dwayne Russell, through the week, and your name was thrown up a couple of times from Dermot Brett and a few of the guys, and I thought instantly, I bet you Ralphie will be tuning in, having a good laugh and bringing back some wonderful memories. What a great time of your life that was.
No, it certainly was. It was a privilege to be part of it. I often say it's like being a roadie with the Beatles. It was having an involvement. I was there for 9 years, from year 3 to year 11 or whatever, and it was great fun. Good to see my good mate Shortte continuing his version of the truth. But sometimes you don't need to tell everything. But it was very amusing at all, and as I said, it was a privilege to be part of it.
Million plus tuning in every Thursday night. Got it right.
That's it.
That is for sure.
It was ridiculous.
Moonee Valley,
Absolutely.
Tell us about it yesterday.
Yeah, okay. So Moonee Valley's in the track improved from a fortnight earlier at its first meeting back post-renovation. Played fairly, played genuinely on the soft side of things, and I think there's probably a lot of Moonee Valley form. I mean, and by that I mean, 2 weeks ago the 3 Black booked was Dashing Duchess, Mornington Glory, and Extra 2. They all won yesterday. So you've got to really isolate that track. Sometimes there's some horses that just don't go as well there, and particularly those without tactical speed.
All right, we'll zip through race by race. In the first, it was Dashing Duchess, impressive winning once again. Wycliffe was nice in defeat. I think it'd fly back in third.
Yeah, and look, and then the other point make here is Jamie Carr, such a supreme judge of pace, because it's a leader, Dashing Duchess, but with Vegas Night overdoing it, it didn't lead, so just judged it perfectly. Wycliffe's ready, and the challenge for both these horses is obviously the staying races really pick up from here, but if they avoid, the real cream that are about to go towards Melbourne Cup, i.e. the Archer, I think it's called, at Flemington, I think they can both be very hard to beat next start.
Daggers won the 1200, race 2.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen the best of him yet, but he does need to keep improving. Certainly, they're talking about Sydney. Well, I've seen the Randwick data from yesterday, and there's some performances there. So I think he just needs to keep improving.
Evaporate got the job done for Mickey D in race number 3 for the 3-year-olds.
This is an interesting one. So overall, the time wasn't huge. Big mid-race move, which I really respect. He actually came from a Cranbourne win, Remember Apulia last year did the same thing. He won at the Valley, he came from a Cranbourne win and ended up getting beaten in the nose by Riff Rocket in the Derby. I think he's got a real genuine staying engine, this horse. So, like I said, overall the time wasn't much, but I just love that big mid-race move.
Race number 4, Immortal Star 1, Photograph hit the line hard.
Yeah, so beware the unlucky runner, but this sprint was phenomenal. 27th best last 400 of the day. This is Vince Cardi's work. 4th best last 200. So to be able to, it's, you know, if it was the 7th best and then the 4th best, you'd say, oh, I'm not sure. But it actually reminded me a bit of Zardozi last year, same camp. So again, overall time not flash, but that acceleration turn of foot was just something else.
On to race number 5, benchmark 78. This was a brave win. Lording. Jamie Carr up along the inside. They were coming right, left and centre, was headed and then had the audacity to kick hard, come again and just get the job done late. Jamie Carr lifting it up over the line.
Yes, and Shorty, I then nominated her for Australian of the Year. I don't know if that was overdoing it, but God bless her. But, yeah, superb. This is actually a very strong benchmark 78. So the first 4 home, Lincoln Rocks was ridden outside of its comfort zone because it's been, getting back, but beautiful ride there to put it on the speed. The key with Lording is the blinkers going back on. Quantum Cat's now ready, and Star Vega better on bigger tracks. So the first 4 home could all be followed with confidence because it's only a benchmark race, so the races won't be too tight from here.
Just a real quick one on Jamie Carr. When she rides light like she did yesterday, some jocks you go, oh, he's riding light or she's riding light, watch out. When she's riding light, get on her. She's focused.
Yeah.
She's hungry.
Absolutely.
Needs a feed.
Yeah. That's it.
Angry. Race number 6, tell us about Tressetti and Patrick Payne and Billy Egan.
Did you say angry? Yep, that was me on Niles Murphy, and not Blake's fault, of course. So they took off a name dropper, and once Stacky gave up the lead on Regal Zeus, and I understand why because of the speed, he then put himself out of the race, and so did Niles Murphy. So Tressetti got the planets to align. He's been racing well. He broke through, but this is sort of basic race, and the races get harder from here. So I'd be careful this form.
Boil over in race number 7, the booze, Bud. Punters were thinking that someone had been on the booze here post-race because it was Rolls who just kept on rolling for Harry Grace. Greenfly, Reinberg, but 2 of the outsiders of the field filling the first couple of spots, and the 2 market elects back last and second last.
Early clubhouse lead for Ride of the Year, Harry Grace here. This is how you ride a fit stayer back in trip at Moonee Valley, who's an on-pacer, and just made them feel pain. And then just when they were all ready to bunch up again, he took off again. So they just put them all out of their comfort zone. I reckon Greenfly, they've worked him out, Team Freeman, and he'll be winning next start if he can keep on a softish track. I know he's pressed for time. Born to Glory was terrific, and Blake Shin, it's an unbelievable ride, an extra 2. Superazi ready to go very close. I'd say the horses to follow, Evaporate and Photograph, the 2 3-year-olds there early in the day.
Beautifully done. RacetrackRalphy.com.au. Thanks for that.
Good on you, boys.
Cheers, Ralphy.
There he goes, and he'll join us again next Sunday, but you can get all that information at racetrackralphy.com.au.
This morning.
On the Aftermath, it's time to introduce the 1985 Brownlow medalist from the Footscray Football Club, Brad Hardie. Introducing the boy from Hilton, the AFL guru, Brad Hardie.
Good morning, Bradley.
Good morning, Marty. Good morning, Shorty. What a day. What a day. What a massive big day after lunch for us.
It's over to you, Bradley. It's over to you. Bulldogs $1.48, Giants $2.65.
Yeah, look, I'm confident without being arrogant. I think that that's a real opportunity for them. It's quite remarkable, isn't it, that the 3 outsiders should be the outsiders in terms of where their positions are on the ladder. Have got an excellent chance of winning today. The Bulldogs are 7th Shorty currently, and the GWS are 4th. I think. What a St Kilda, Marty, 13th, and we know that Carlton are about 8th at the moment. And then, of course, you've got Port Adelaide over your way, Shorty, playing the Dockers. It's 2nd versus sort of 9th. So it's quite remarkable. I can't wait. It should be an absolute beauty. Weather looks like it's going to be okay. I think they're expecting a little bit of a front to come in later on this afternoon, but that won't affect the game because it starts at lunchtime here, and the one at Carlton is under the roof, so no problems there. and then it'll be over to you, Shorty, over your way.
Yeah, big time, Brad. Such an exciting day. And I must admit, all season long, this is what the punters like ourselves have been calling for, the clean fixture. 10:30, no overlap to the 1:20 game. 1:20 kickoff, no overlap to the 4:10 game. We can put the feet up on the dashboard, watch 3 unbelievable games of football and not have any dramas having to flip channels and miss parts of the game. But all 3 of them massive. I tell you what, though, there is a small possibility that we get the 4:10 bounce down at Optus Stadium, and there's no, you can shake the can up as much as you like, but if the Giants or St Kilda don't get up, there's not going to be a whole lot of pop in that can.
No, well, as we know, there's no interest like self-interest, Marty, and we've got to give ourselves a bit of a rap because they've been at pains all year, Shorty, just to say to people, just calm the farm, don't put the cart before the horse. How many times have we said that? Mm-hmm. And it's got down to this. Round 24. Unbelievable, because just when you think you're safe to put your toe in the water, yeah, we're right. Oh, no, we're not. So it's got right down to this. So good luck to Freo today. You need a few things to fall your way. Obviously, the Bulldogs and Carlton supporters are thinking exactly the same. Look, the game that concerns me most is for Carlton, and I don't say that maliciously. I think St Kilda can take them today, boys. I really do. They look like under the roof. They put Charlie Curnow, and he was never going to play. So from that point of view, they've got a real job ahead of them. They're the boy with the barrow today, Shorty. Yeah,
the injuries are hurting a lot, no doubt about that. And there's potential for a bit of a come down off that big win across here in WA last week. So that's going to be a cracking game. Really looking forward to it. Let's go back and recap what we've seen already in the round. We'll dissect that and then finish off with these big 3 games and your thoughts on them before we finish. Back to Friday night. We won't spend much time on this. A dead rubber. It was Collingwood, though. Far too good for Melbourne. A disappointing season for Melbourne. Likewise for Collingwood. 2nd year in a row now that the reigning premier hasn't made finals.
Yeah, too true. And as Marty knows, I spoke to him and Riley on Friday. I flipped it. I was quite bullish about Melbourne, but the noises I heard coming out of Melbourne all day Friday, young Ed Allen was going to get a chance at Collingwood because they just wanted to see how he goes. He was fabulous. I couldn't find him on Touch Market. I wanted to have him, 20 disposals. He did a great job, so well done to Ben's boy. But I just felt as though Collingwood were on the mark. Nick Dacos, no doubt, in my mind, was thinking, well, Brownlow medal for me if I can put in a stellar performance, and him and Nick put it together with 40 disposals each. And it's going to be one hell of a, that's another story, isn't it? It's going to be one hell of a count come that last round on Friday. If Collingwood and Melbourne, the last one out, Marty, Dacos is going to get the 3 votes and maybe possibly the Brownlow now, so we'll wait and see, but there's more to talk about that in a sec. But, Melbourne were awful. Christian Petrarca, that hasn't resolved itself. No. It's still, bubbling away, as I said to you boys about, 10 days ago, wait until after the last game and watch the fireworks begin at Melbourne, and I don't think it's going to be, I don't think we're going to be disappointed, put it that way. But well done to Collingwood. They came up short, but first time in a long time, Marty, that a team that's won, 13 games in a season didn't make the 8.
Gee, I was listening to a couple of footy shows yesterday morning, going into bat for Pickett again. He's just got to stop it, doesn't he? They're saying Darcy Moore fell over and, no, mate.
Slipped,
No,
I agree.
He's a sniper. Get it out of your game.
I watched it Friday night. With Bucks and Jordan Lewis and Brownie and that, and they just didn't have a handle on it. And that's no disrespect. I mean, we're all the same. All of past players, we're dinosaurs. And we understand that accidents do happen, but you just don't put yourself in that situation. He continually does it. And Darcy Moore had every right to, it was a little bit greasy underfoot. He was just trying to protect the ball. He was trying to protect to push the ball back into sort of up the line a little bit. So, there was always going to be a starting point. Look, they might get lucky, but I doubt it.
He's been lucky every other time he goes up.
Yeah, exactly. But he's expendable now because there's no more games for Melbourne this year. It's about next season. So if he misses the first 3 games next season, Shorty, who cares? Other than Melbourne.
He did it last year. He missed the first 3 this year, didn't he?
Yeah. He's got. Yeah, he constantly. Well, more often than not, the ones that have got him in strife is when he goes into bump and he leaves the ground,
Yep.
you know, and he jumps. Well, he didn't jump on this occasion. It was a split-second thing, but, again, the rule is, unfortunately, if you choose to bump and you collect someone in the head and they get HIA concussion, good luck trying to get off.
On to this next game, Hawthorn, North Melbourne. Now, Hawthorn, love the way Sam Mitchell went about the build-up to this game. Don't get ahead of ourselves. If we lose this game, we're not playing finals. Concentrate on winning this game. Turn up, get the job done. Then we can worry about finals once that's done and dusted. What we saw in what must be described as very wintry conditions, windy, rainy, was the most clinical football that you can imagine. And North Melbourne, to be fair, in that second half were almost like witches' hats. But it's to the credit of Hawthorn and the football they're playing. 26-14, 170 defeated North Melbourne 7-4-46, a 124-point demolition job. Now, North Melbourne, just quickly wanted to bring this to your attention, guys, from a depressed kangaroo supporter on Twitter last night. North's last 100 games, 13 wins, 1 draw, and 86 losses. Jesus. Something seriously has to change in this off-season. It is not sustainable. That is what you don't sort of break it down like that. That's 4 and a bit seasons, 13 wins, 1 draw, and 86 losses. It's a horrendous card.
In the last two
no
games.
doubt about that.
What about them?
They've been massive blowouts.
They've checked out. They checked out against our boys after quarter time last week and got a big gap put on them. We got a bit of money Friday night, Shorty, which was good with Marty and myself, $4.65. That was a nice win. Cam Zurhar let us down yesterday, Marty. We had $5 for him and Dylan Moore to kick 2. Dylan Moore kicks 4. Zurhar only 1. But he's the barometer of North Melbourne. If he shows up and plays a bit and does a little bit here, he's a bit like Stringer at Essendon. They can fire, but they've just shut up shop the last 2 weeks. They've been terribly disappointing. Got a lot of work to do there. But Hawthorn just went about their business. Incredible win, really, because the conditions weren't great, Shorty. I spoke to Captain Gronewagen down there, and they were worried about they had to bring the game forward because if it got too dark later, they weren't able to turn the lights on. So they just got the job done. They're in seriously good form going into the finals, and it's going to be unfortunate one way or the other. If it does fall away, I hope it does, and the Bulldogs do win today. Well, guess who plays next in the first week of the finals?
At the
Bulldogs
MCG.
and Hawthorn. Who would have thought?
What a game in prospect, though. What a game in prospect. It could easily be a grand final quality game.
They're the two teams with the bullet,
correct.
aren't they? If the Western Bulldogs get past GWS today, what about the West Coast Eagles? Now, sum this one up, Brad, against Geelong. Talk about checking out.
Oh, absolutely putrid. Absolutely putrid. And look, I admire, Jared Schofield coming out and saying, we've improved. I don't know where. I really don't know where. I'm confident in saying it's cost him any chance of being the next coach. I didn't think he was going to get it in the first place, as you know, but that wasn't being malicious or whatever. I just didn't think he was going to get it. This has made it extremely hard now for him. They were pitiful yesterday, and a lot of their senior players, time to go. I'm sorry. Darling, ta-da. Cripps, ta-da. Gaff's already gone. There's a few that could go with him. I'm told that McGovern could have played if it was a final. Well, why weren't you playing, mate? Why weren't you playing? I'll put the question there. Elliot Yeo tries, Kelly tries, but they didn't really worry about him. It wasn't until, and I'll give him credit for this, Jared, at half time, is what he did do. He moved the magnets and he put the young blokes in the middle of the ground and said, well, you new bowl blokes, get out. We'll put the young blokes in there, try them in new positions, and let's see how we go. But I'm not falling for the trap, we won the second half. I mean, seriously, you've lost the first half. 8th time, I think, or 3rd time or something, or someone's trailed by 100 points at half-time. 100, he said we prepared well. No, you didn't. You don't lose it. You're not trailing by 100 points at half-time if you prepared well. So from that point of view, and the scoreboard flattered them in the end, and Geelong did what they needed to do. We can see their percentage now, boys, and it's really over to Port and GWS to see what they can do today. Geelong have done theirs. And West Coast, God, it's and look, what I'm hearing is just unbelievable. Now I'm quite happy for the blowback from anybody who wants to challenge me on it. I hope they do. Can you believe that the CEO, Don Pike's been texting the coach in the coach's box and the coaches to say, are you aware of this trend in the game?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't
be surprised.
Don, Concentrate on, running the show. Get the football program right. Let the coaches coach for the time being. It's now over. Now it's your time you want to step in and help out. But during games, texting the coach, the interim coach and the coaching staff, are you aware of this trend in the game? Come on.
Yep. And from what I'm hearing inside,
as I said, Shorty, and I do say this maliciously, it's got Cameron Schwab and Chris Connolly written all over this. Don Pike wants to be in the football department. Don, you're the CEO.
What about Richmond Gold Coast? Gold Coast too strong for Richmond. Hardwick's got to remember he's not coaching Richmond anymore, and he's trying to our players and our mate. You sold out on them. You've gone to Gold Coast. Yep. Just worry about being a Gold Coast Suns coach.
Yeah. Well, they eventually got it done, and that's typical performance, Shorty, of Richmond. They give you something for 2.5 quarters, but then when it really, really gets hard, most of their players are checked out. We know, obviously, Dusty was gone. Marley and Pickett's now retired. Grimes hasn't played the last half of the season. He's gone. Baker wants to go to West Coast. Rioli wants to go he's going to Gold Coast. So Jack Graham's going to West Coast. So, they checked out. But Gold Coast, well, that's their best year that they've had. Anyway, win-loss, whether it's got any merit or not to it, it's up to the subjective eye, I suppose. But they've won 11 and lost 12, 9 at home and 2 on the road now. So it's a base, but they've still... Gold Coast have got a lot of work to do, Shorty, over the summer period to get themselves and up that next 15 or 20% that they require, Marty, to get into the 8 next year.
Well, you don't win 9 at home by being a terrible side. So that's the first part of the equation's good, but they really do have to work on their mental capacity on the road. They're good players. 20% worse when they travel, and they're leaders of the side. Guys like Anderson, Took Miller, Rao, they play really well on the Gold Coast. But 100%. They're the 4 big leaders, the guys that the younger players look to, and they need to up the ante and really set the tone when they hit the road next year. They're capable of doing it. You can't play to that level against good sides on your home deck and then just be an 8-goal worse side when you hit the road. They've got to work that out, and if they do, then they can potentially improve that bit and push for finals next season.
Well, as you say, to be a good side and win, 11 or 12, that's what you do. But if you want to be a seriously very good player or a seriously very good team, you've got to do what Sydney, Port, Geelong, GWS, etc. have been doing, and do it 15, 16, 17 weeks in a year. That separates the very good from the good, and then the not so good down the bottom, as we say. So, at least they won a few at home. They won 1 at Marvel, and they won 1 at the MCG. Over to you, Damien Hardwick, and your team for next year to see if you can make the improvement.
This worrying trend for Brisbane continues. 11-21, 10-7, 87 to 67.
Flat patches in games. They left the door ajar again last night. There would have been the odd heart flutter late in that game, and there was no need. They had the control of the contest the whole way.
Do it all the time.
They switch off for 8, 10, 12 minutes within a game, Brad, and they allow oppositions to get momentum up, kick 4, 5 or 6, and all of a sudden it's game on again.
Well, I said to the punters last night, half an hour before the game, this is put in, take out, $2.12. All Brisbane have to do, is my exact words, kick straight. Seriously, I mean, have a look at it again. 11 goals, 21. If it's 21-11, money in the bank. They do it too often. They do it too often. My boys is just the same. They're kicking more points than goals regularly. You've got to get over that. You've got to stop that, because you won't get out of it when you're up against the very top sides. And now we are getting into the finals. And you can't afford to be kicking 11-21 in the final, because you will lose. And they only have to lose once, then they're out.
I think they're cooked for this year. They needed to run top 4, and they've cost themselves over the last, not this game, but the 2 weeks before. They were games that they were in control of. They've coughed them up, burped all over themselves, and now they won't be making top 4, and they'll be out, and they won't. I don't think they can play apart from here, Brad, having to hit the road and having no home prelim.
Well, they win their first final, and as you say, then they've got to go on the road, and that'll be, depending on how the cards fall, you wouldn't write them off, but as you say, Shorty, it's going to make it hard for them now. They'll have to win 4 games. They'll have to be 2016 for them, like the Bulldogs did. So, and that's extremely rare, as we know. So I agree with you on that one. But if they get it right, I don't know, but I can't see them getting it right, because it's been a problem for them for all year.
Sydney controlled the match against Adelaide. No heart attacks here. 21-90.
Yeah, put the cue in the rack in the last quarter, 1 goal, but they had the game sewn up. Heaney had a bit of a spell. They've got a few to come back. They're back. They're back, and in dangerous form. But again, if you're gonna play Sydney, you only want to play them once. It's and that's probably in the grand final.
Yep.
But if you get the opportunity, if it falls that way, and the Giants finish fourth, or Geelong finish fourth, worrying times, for the Swans, worrying signs, because they've only got to come across town if it's the Giants, and they've only got to, and we know that if Geelong steal themselves, they can do something. They're probably less likely. I think the Swans would fear the Giants more than they fear Geelong. But for the rest of the top 8, I think you only want to play them once, and that would be in the GF.
I will say one takeout from the game. Luke Parker remains an outstanding footballer, and he's so important for these big for the Swans in these big games. He pops up and kicks goals. He gets plenty of the football. He sets goals up. He's calm. He gets into the right places. He's such a valuable footballer, and to think that he wasn't getting a game earlier in the season is phenomenal as to how they were flying at the time for him to not be pushing in. But it may well prove to be a bonus now, Brad, because he hasn't had the miles on the clock for the season. He's relatively fresh now, heading into the finals, and he's in good nick.
And the story here is Taylor Adams. Does he push him out? With Papley and these guys. Wouldn't that be a story? He's left Collingwood because he thought he could have played in last year's grand final. He's gone up there. He's had a fair. He's gone off the hip a couple of times with the verbals about Collingwood and McRae in particular. He might find himself in the wrong spot at the wrong time again, because if they go all the way and they get Papley and their best crew together, he may not be in it.
It happens. No, these 3 games. Let's have a look. Bulldogs $1.48, Giants $2.65, line 13.5.
Yeah, look, advantage dogs at Mars. It's their second home. I noticed there's been a little bit of money, not huge, but a little bit of money for them. They'll be waking up this morning knowing exactly what the equation is, as will the GWS Giants. Now, the Giants have won 7 in a row, so I'm betting against them winning 8 in this environment right now. And, of course, I want to see the Dogs win, but I think they will. I think their midfield, the Dogs, is as good as or better than the Giants. And what the Giants do, boys, and I've said this all along, they are better when they can get Tom Green to get the ball on the outside, Shorty. So that's when the orange tsunami starts, whether it's Whitfield or whatever, charging off a half-back flank. They want the ball on the outside. The Dogs are more keen on getting the ball on the inside, but it's the second and third link-up after that, and then into the forward line to Ugle-Hagan, Norton, Darcy, that can prove the difference. We know how good Sam Taylor is, but there's only one of him. Buckley's held his own down there, but they're going to have their hands full today. The Dogs should be able to get that ball in there quite often and often enough. And, Liam Jones will take Hogan. Hogan has been fantastic. He's going to win the Coleman medal. But I'll stress again, I can't believe it. Even last week it was Brennan Cox initially. They put the number 2 defender on him. You don't do that. You've got to put the number 1 defender on him. It won't be Lobb. It won't be O'Donnell. Buku's dropped. It has to be Liam Jones. And Liam, you just say, Liam, okay, we know you like to come off your man occasionally. Just stay with him. Just stay with him and allow them to try and handle Cadman and Toby Green at ground level, etc. That's what they need to do. That's what I think they'll do, and I think they can pinch it.
Back shoulder all day long with Jesse Hogan. Just don't allow him to get that jump at it. One question for you, Brad. Brent Daniels was absolutely stunning last week for the Giants against Fremantle. Who do you think will get the job on him from the Dogs?
Jure. Yeah. No, we'll go the close down, shut down. Yep. They'll try and make sure that he's the man. If he hasn't got him, he will go to Toby Green. He's improved remarkably. I wasn't a real fan because we had too many guys who wanted to get off their man, Shorty. There was 5 or 6 of them. Johannesson wanted to do it. He hasn't been playing. Barley Dale wants to do it. Barley Williams wants to do it. Jure wanted to do it. Ed Richards wanted to do it, and he was playing half-back flank. Yeah, but so they've got to have a lockdown player, and he's been terrific. He's been an extra midfielder, boys. What Daniels has done, he's come up and been the extra midfielder, and his immediate opponent stayed back, and then he's got involved up the ground, and that's how he's been getting his goals. So, there'll be a little bit of importance put on him today. Okay,
Carlton St Kilda, 2.10. The Blues, St Kilda, $1.73. They've been back, haven't they, Shorty? 2.12 they open up at.
Indeed.
Yeah, they had to be. I mean, look, that was a terrific win against Geelong. That wasn't fanciful. That was, that was a really, really solid win. And if they play the same way today, Carlton have always sort of, for Carlton, I think they would have rather this at the MCG. Because the ability under the roof, it might be an optical illusion, but it just seems to be easier to shut that ground down indoors, and that's what they'll be trying to do. Big Harry's around, but I don't think there's too much that Carlton have got up front that's going to cause them any concern. It means that Kemp's probably got to be up there again. I just really think this plays into the hands of St Kilda. I reckon they can hold them, and I think they'll beat them.
And this final game's so intriguing. So Fremantle 185, Port 195. The line's almost negligible. It's 1.5. But if the Western Bulldogs beat the Giants, Port Adelaide, unless they get completely hammered, are pretty much locked into second spot on the table. So there's not a whole lot for them. There wouldn't be a stack for them to play for, and they'd be wanting to, you'd think as a senior player, you'd want to be making sure you're okay for the finals themselves, whereas Fremantle potentially, if St Kilda beat Carlton, would have lots to play for. If it goes the other way and the Giants knock off the Bulldogs, the Giants go to 64 points and would probably be within 1.5% of Port Adelaide, and Port would need to really dig in for that home prelim final and that home final. So it's got a few different permeations as to what can happen.
I can, and there's no doubt. St Kilda, Fremantle should be barracking St Kilda today. Even if, as you say, Shorty, if the Giants beat the Dogs and St Kilda beat Carlton and then Fremantle can win, they'll be in. You know what I mean? If the Dogs win and St Kilda win and Fremantle win, they'll be in. That's the only way they don't get in is if it's the Bulldogs and Carlton win, and then that doesn't really matter. So from that point of view, Port Adelaide, the ones, as Marty said, they're going to finish second or third. But I reckon if I'm Port Adelaide, I want to be playing the Giants at Adelaide Oval. I don't want to be playing them up at the Giants Stadium in the first round, that's for sure.
What about a Sunday saviour, Bradley?
Yes, I'm very happy today with this and looking forward to this. Goulburn, race 2, number 3, Crystal Clear, $1.65. It will just win, folks. Kilcoy, race 6, number 11, Akau. It's called AIKAU. $3.70. And we're going back to Goulburn. Now, have it both ways. Goulburn, race 7, number 12, Green Shadows, for the place, $3.40. So, Crystal Clear, $1.65. Akau, $3.70. Green Shadows for a place, $3.40. That's $20.75. But this is a big dance qualifier, so if you want to put the Green Shadows in for a win as well, that'll take you up to $67.55, Shorty. I'm very confident about the first two.
And Retrovision, what about Group 1 Morts last night? He's coming up on the program in the next half hour. Never ending. What a performance there at the Angle. If you don't mind.
He's got a never-ending wallet at the moment. He's unbelievable. He hurt his ankle the other day because he fell off his wallet. And no, that's all right. Good on you. He's going extremely well, Mort's. Good on you. Overseas trips. He does it all, mate. He's got fantastic stores everywhere. The new Dut, 100, 100, 100. He can do things the banks can't. We just keep reinforcing that. He's an absolute beauty. And during the week, it's Frankie Lee from Ross's Auctions, who's also outstanding. Where I've got a nice bottle of wine on Sunday, Shorty. I've got to work and do Carlton St Kilda today for another station. But that's okay, but I'll be certainly keeping an eye on the Dogs and the Giants, and then a little later Fremantle and Port. So I wish your team well today, boys.
Thank you, Bradley. Yes, and if Freo miss out this afternoon, I might have to get in contact with Frankie and see if we can't get a little bit of whiskey to work my way through the next little patch, watching the other teams in the finals. Good on you, Bradley. Have a ripper Sunday.
All the best, boys. Good luck.
Sunday morning, we will do the talking on the Aftermath with Marty Young and David Shortte on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Shorty, we're heading up to the Goldfields. Helen Harding's heading that way from Esperance. A very good morning, Helen.
Morning, boys. How are we?
Good. How's the trip up going?
Yeah, same old.
Same old. You know every pothole in the road.
Definitely.
Right, let's talk about these two, particularly number 2, Uncompromised in the Tats Cup. You're also running Floppy. Terrific run 2 starts ago behind Debonair, and then a very good run in the Campbell Cup, went 4th behind Abloh.
Yeah, look, he's got going really well. He's trained on well. Probably the 1400 was probably a bit short for him the other day. You know, Stayers run that blind at first up and he was a bit more dour. So, yeah, more than happy with him. Barrier draws aren't helping us at all.
No.
Well, so I'm guessing he'll probably get ridden the same as he was first up and drop back and come down the outside.
The horse itself, though, Helen, off that performance last time out, everything's where you'd like it to be. It's over to Tash from the draw, but the horse itself, happy with where it's at?
Yep, the horse has pulled up really well, trained on really well since then, on target.
You're also running Floppy for Steve Kilner in your colours. The helmet 6-year-old first up was beaten 4 lengths behind Cocoon Bay.
Yeah, he was probably needed to run then, and he's probably a bit outclassed in this race. Next year probably goes down a class, total 58 and in a fortnight. It was really the only race suitable for him today.
Okay.
Helen, you would have seen a fair bit of the opposition going into the big race today. Is there one horse in particular that you thought might be tough to beat as the main rival?
I'd say Pierce's horse is coming up, the fresh horse on the scene, and
right.
Peter Fernie's as well.
It's always hard to beat Pete. Now, what about the first? Our man, Crishane Warren's made this his best of the day, Manganui.
Oh, I think he's trained on well, but it's probably not ideal distance for him. It's a shame he missed that 1,400-metre run last meeting. He's looking for more ground, not less, but it is what it is. Hoping he's fresh enough to deal with it.
All right, well, hopefully that goes well in the same race. Henry I Am goes around today on debut, having its first look. 4-year-old son of Universal Ruler, draws barrier 9, Vic Corver to take the ride. What are you expecting first run at the races for Henry I Am?
Look, he's certainly working well enough, but I think he'll need the race experience. So, yeah, he'll go around and learn a lot from it.
All right, on to race number 2. A couple of runners here. Number 5, Neck Minute, is deep into the preparation. Braden Garth takes a ride from barrier 9, and also 6th Avenue goes around here as one of the outsiders. Another on debut, a 3-year-old son of Manhattan Rain. Any chance for this duo?
He's actually working really well. But, yeah, barrier draws and racetrack experience, and probably Neck Minute. Again, the 1,200 is probably going to be too short for him.
All right, into race number 3, my boy Chris, first up, was good. Second behind Total Lockdown. Can it go one better?
Barrier draws haven't helped me there. He's basically more an on-speed horse. So, yeah, well, I've had bad barriers all day, bar one horse. So as long as he gets cover, he does tend to over-race if he doesn't get cover.
Makes the job a bit challenging, that's for sure, when they draw off. But hopefully the jocks can help you out throughout the course of the day. Race number 4, it's another dual-pronged attack here. You've got Angel, and also She's Got the Lot. She's got the lot to start with. It was a nice placing going back 3 runs ago there. That was at Bunbury, and we have seen the horse perform well at this trip in the past. Draws barrier 7. It's one that's got certainly each way claims in a race like this.
Yeah, and I think she'll be suited on the firmer tracks. I don't think she's been coping with the heavier tracks around Perth.
Okay, Angel, what have you picked this horse up offline, have you?
Our client picked it up offline, and definitely a stayer will definitely be looking for more ground.
All right, so we'll look for that to get up over a little bit further. Any other runners of note outside of the main race today that you're giving good prospects to, Helen?
Cocoon Bay won well the other day.
Yep.
I think she's going to be a chance. And in the last, Naughty Gossip's been training well.
So Cocoon Bay in race number 6, and in race number 8, Naughty Gossip. Braden Garth riding both of those too. Helen, thanks. It's always good to catch up. Enjoy the rest of the trip up to Kalgoorlie, and hopefully it's a good day. Tats Cub Day at the KBRC.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good luck, Helen.
She's a busy lady, Helen.
Yeah, it's a big team, isn't it? Big team. Marty, 6th Avenue might get me for a small spec there. It's $51. She did suggest that the horse is working quite well there at home, so that might be worth something small. Cocoon Bay, Naughty Gossip later in the day, and you're giving Uncompromised a good chance of overcoming that awkward draw and being right there in the finish today.
Most definitely. We'll take a very quick break. Gary Portelli's up next.
Towards the inside in front, from Dancing Alone, Kamachi, Mumbai Muse the inside, then Lady Laguna, and Commemorative the widest, 5 off the lead. It's the Black Cloud being challenged now by Kamachi. Kamachi put the head in front from Dancing Alone, then Commemorative winding up the outside, Mumbai Muse the inside. It's Kamachi in front, 50 out. Kamachi's kicking, Kamachi clinging on from Commemorative, and Kamachi a neck to Commemorative.
Oh, the toy show yesterday. Gary Portelli joins us today. She was tough yesterday there, Gary. Well done.
Thanks very much. Yeah, she was. She's a great little mare. She's come back a bit stronger too, so it was good to see.
Gary, you're all over it. I heard the interview with Digby and Tim on Friday, and the first thing you said was, boys, beautiful. I'm in for a good weekend. When you ring up from over there, I know that I'm in for a decent weekend. And, well, history has repeated once again. And Kamachi, just that last little bit, that last 50 metres, talk us through what was going through your head, because there was a pretty nice horse charging home, but gee, it was a brave effort from Kamachi, just kept on digging in, and they're the characteristics you love seeing in a racehorse. They don't want to be beaten and just keep on finding.
Yeah, she did the same to Learning to Fly last campaign, first up as well. When she won Silver Shadow, Learning to Fly looked like she had a skull, but she fought back to beat her.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good mare to be kicking away from as well. So, you know, you never know when they come back from straw where they're at, but I thought she'd burn a few carrots in the early stages of the race, sitting 3 deep, no cover. As the day was turning out, at that point, they were coming from off the pace and getting to the middle of the track. So we're hoping we'd be a couple of sets back, actually, out of the gates. But she jumped that well. Colin had no option but just to hold her together in a straight line down the back 3 deep. I just thought that she just might have done too much before the rise, and that Commemorative was going to come out of the pack. And, you know, I've seen it a couple of times where, you know, we've been in front and got run over, so I didn't go too early. I held her together and then asked for an effort with 100 to go, and she responded, so it was good. She fought back and showed her quality.
As the day played out, your confidence must have grown, wouldn't it? With Jolly Star winning, with Zagotcha running so well behind her. You had placings behind these two very good fillies in the autumn of last year. It must have grown in confidence going in.
It actually put more pressure on me. It wasn't so much I was confident. I know the form's strong, but I'm training for Yulong now.
Yep.
Just paid 2.2 for it. If it gets rolled, then they're going to be looking at their answering whether they send it back to me. So it had to win for me to keep in the kit. You know, there was pressure on me, and you know, for her to get over the line and win the race, it cements my spot there. And they're obviously a massive stable to be part of, the Yulong farm, and you know they've given me a few more yearlings this year as well, so, or 2-year-olds they are now. So you know we've started off with a bang, and hopefully cemented my spot in their care.
It beats the alternative, that's for sure, Gary, and I'm sure you would have slept well last night with that pressure hanging over you. But it's great that they are backing you in, and on one hand there's pressure, but like all good football sides will say at this time of the year, you're better off being in the big games and having pressure on you than being on the sidelines and watching on. I'm sure that's a similar scenario from a trainer's perspective when the big races are on.
Exactly. I think there was a couple of years back I had Pure Rain and the Slipper, and everyone was saying, how do you handle the pressure of the favourite Slipper? I said, a lot better than the pressure I have when I haven't got a runner in it. So
exactly.
Yeah. So you know, it's a nice pressure to have, no doubt. But you know, I think you don't realise how much pressure you're on until after the race, and you feel that weight of the world comes off your shoulders, and you can actually, you know, take it all in. And you know, it was nice. We had a good celebration last night, and you know, as I said, we're taking it all in. We're training for one of the biggest owners in Australia right now, and kicked a great goals first up.
How has Kamachi come through the run, Gary, and what's in store? What's the preparation look like from here?
Look, she's pulled up enormous bucket of brands off out the yard this morning. So, we're not sure which way we'll go now. Obviously, we'll talk to the team at Yulong, and one thing they did say, when I first got her, was that the objective is to win a Group 1. So we've got to try and find that Group 1 that suits her well, I should say. Hard to find a Group 1 that suits any horse well. It's basically Olympic trying to win a gold medal Olympics with a Group 1. So it's difficult. But, the way she went round yesterday, no doubt she's come back. But, we're going to be taking on the same mares that we were taking on, Sugotcha, etc. They're there, so hard to dodge them at Group 1 level, but we're going to have to take them on soon.
You hinted an Everest slot would be good for her?
Look, I'm tongue-in-cheek said yesterday I want to get into the Everest, but, if she wins next start, I think she'll probably go to Shirako next start.
Mm-hmm.
If she was to win that, then I think that they'd probably, having Yulong having their own slot, they may look at it. So I'm going to keep pushing to get her into the race if possible, because I know that she'd be tough enough for a race like that. I think for a horse to be an Everest horse, they've got to be able to run 7 furlongs. It's a high-pressure sprint. She's certainly that type of horse. She's not a speedy squib. Under high pressure, she just tries so hard. There'd be no reason why she wouldn't run a hell of a race at the top level, because I don't think we've got that level of sprinter that we used to have now. You think about it, like who is the dominant sprinter these days?
Changing of the guard.
No one. Yep.
Opportunities are there for horses to step up. Hopefully, Kamachi will be one of those horses. Yesterday as well, in race number 7 on the program, we saw NCAP finish midfield. Talk us through what your thoughts were on that particular performance there yesterday. Of course, they ran into a very good one in Jolie Star, who looks to be one out of the box there that took that particular race out. But how's that horse come through, and what's in store for the rest of the prep for NCAP, a horse that's got its fair share of ability as well?
Yeah, he probably just needed the run. He had the one barrier trial, was stuck on the most inferior part of the track, right up the inside all the way. Jason had no option but to cut back to the inside. There was no runs to the outside, so he had to cut back the inside, which was, I think, 3 or 4 lengths slower than anywhere else. And he went through the line pretty well, had a big blow, pulled up pretty big over the lines. He'll improve. We're aiming him at the Golden Eagle, so, we're a way off that yet. So he'll improve as he gets to the campaign. But I don't think we got to really see him at his best yesterday, being that he was a little underdone going through, what was probably a little slower ground.
Gary, magnificent win of Kamachi yesterday. Thanks for coming on the program. All the best for the rest of the spring.
Anytime.
Thank you, mate.
Every Friday, you blokes will be fine. Thank you.
We're on the blocks. We've got to talk pacing, because coming up next is Group 1 Mords.
Probably the best part of about 30 metres, and he makes it even more now because Major Moth goes for home. Oh, Buck just got into trouble there and is out of its gear. Going to second, Bulletproof Boy. Never Ending is going to be the deepest. They straightened up. Major Moth in 26.8 tries to break their hearts. Down the outside, Curly James and Never Ending is starting to hit top gear. Spots Major Moth about 15 metres, but it's closing. It's Major Moth, the leader. He's got to get to work on it. It's holding Never Ending for the time being, and it's going to be Major Moth. Have a look at Never Ending. There's a little statement for the Eureka in 2 weeks' time. It stormed home. For third, it's either run.
Very good morning, Morts.
Morning, Marty. Morning, Shorty.
Great to be catching up with you, Morts. I'm sure you've woken up this morning with a bit of a spring in the step. That was some finishing close from Never Ending. And Brittany Graham post-race said, well, if that's not one of the better trials for the richest race in the country on race night I've ever seen, I'm not here. That's a glowing endorsement from Britt, and I'm sure from an ownership perspective, that was something that, while you would have liked to have the win last night, that's the next best thing.
Yeah, look, it was an outstanding effort by Never Ending. Obviously, we giving him his first look around Menangle in true race conditions with Gary Hall Jr. on board. It was just about getting around and making sure he hit the line really hard, and wow, we did that. So yeah, it was great to see, and we'll just fingers crossed he comes through that and continues to thrive ahead of the Eureka final.
Have you got his sectionals for the last 2 quarters?
His last half was in 53.42. His last quarter in 26.3. Got beaten 3.7 metres. So it was, he just hit the line exactly like Justin wanted him to. So, yeah, it was great. Great result. And, we look forward to the next 2 weeks.
Just on that, so the winner, Major Moth, who led last quarter, was 27.4. You've come from last in 26.3, that last bit. Well. And he looked like he clipped a wheel around the bell, almost went out of his gear as well.
Yeah, he copped a slight check, and I
Yeah.
think he also might have copped a little bit on the home turn as well.
Mm-hmm.
So he just did really well. He's come on so well in terms of being a far more relaxed horse and racing. And go back 12 months ago, I think that check probably would have affected him more. But he just seemed to take it in his stride, and he balanced up beautifully. And Junior just let him down and hit the line really hard. So couldn't be happier, Marty.
Oh, it's so good now as a 4-year-old, really maturing and putting together a magnificent record. Morts, tell us a little bit about the actual travel experience for the horse, where it's being stabled across there, how the horse has handled the trip across, and what Junior's report was post-race.
Yeah, look, he took off a couple of weeks ago and he went business class on an air flight there and made it across to Victoria. And then Justin followed the horse across. He was there to pick him up. And then they trucked him up to New South Wales after giving him a couple of days in Victoria just to get over the flight, and trucked him up to New South Wales where he's been stabled with Peter and Cindy Rickson. And he's settling in very well. The first couple of days, the first week or so, it was a little bit difficult for him just to acclimatise, and probably didn't eat as well as we would have liked, but certainly in the last week as he's started to acclimatise and settle in there well, he's really impressed Justin. He's licked his bin every night, and has just been really happy with how he's come along. So it's been a long journey for him, but he certainly seems to have settled in well now, and just got the next 2 weeks just to get him spot on. Junior was glowing in his report post-race last night. He was just really happy with how the horse steered. As a juvenile, he wasn't very tractable, and he could tend to over-race, but he just was able to settle him back there in the field, cop some interference, keep his mind on the job, hit the line hard, and yeah, Junior was glowing in his report, and I know Justin was very happy. So all's going well at this stage, Shorty.
Morts, it's a thrill, obviously, to any time there's a WA horse that goes across and any animal on the East Coast and competes for WA. But you've been involved and you're heavily invested in harness racing. You tip in big time. You're so good for the sport and for this station as well. What's it like? You have had no doubt, like all of us that have been owners, good and bad on the way through, but to have a horse that's now aiming up as the richest harness race in the world, it's going to be right up at the pointy end when it comes to betting and a super chance. What are your nerves going to be like heading in?
Yeah, look, I've been very fortunate in harness racing. I had a great association with Justin Prentice, who is just a genius when it comes to training horses. So we've had a lot of fun along the way, and a good amount of success. But yeah, certainly the lead up to this is quite extraordinary, and you kind of don't want to let yourself get too excited or, too ahead of yourself, but never ending. By far the best horse that we've owned. And you just, we couldn't ask for a better horse heading into the race. So the nerves, I'm sure, will be fever pitch. We've got a great group of owners who will be across there. So we'll have a contingent of around about 25 to 30 people there to cheer him home, and I'm sure that'll just that and a couple of icy cold Fosters might just help with the nerves pre-race.
Morts, we've got to get to news. Thanks for that.
Thanks,
David.
Thank you, Marty.